What's up, dudes and dudettes of the air? Now, my name's Seth, and we're back again for another Trove patch notes. Haha! Hi, how y'all doing? Hope you're doing fantastically wonderful today. Hope this video makes your day even better, everybody. Now, today we're going to be giving away information rather than giving away mounts and stuff like that, but I still humbly ask you to Hadouken the like button for me. It helps me out more than you know, and thank you so much if you do. Now, without further ado, there's a quick little note from the devs that mentions how this patch affects new players, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I don't see how this affects new players outside of a little bit of an accident, which is very, very beautiful, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Then it also mentions how next week they are going to end up kind of changing the gem system around a little bit. This is where you need to save all your empowered gems, everybody, because next week you're going to be able to deconstruct 10 of these bad boys into one stellar gem. Now, whether or not they're going to generate as good gems or not, time will tell, but it's still better than having all of these gems just taking up your inventory, right? And without further ado, they finally ended up fixing the combat numbers that they ended up breaking a couple weeks ago, so that's fantastic. Took them a little while to actually do that, unfortunately, but it's great that it's finally been fixed now. It's fantastic. They also fixed an issue that prevented the contest leaderboards from showing up. I don't know why that happened this Monday that just passed. For some reason, on the daily reset, the contest just wasn't showing up, but now it's actually there. Added info about the Chaos Chest and Bulldozer sale. I don't know where it means that shows up. Maybe it just means right here, but or just on the store. Yeah, probably just on the store in general. Then there is also the new collections menu is here. Now, I'll just kind of summarize here, everybody, because you can click the card in the top right. I have a video that goes in a little bit more in-depth look at the whole system right here. But needless to say, you know, the pictures are very self-explanatory. You can actually favorite stuff now, which is great. You can favorite allies. I got a couple tomes and everything like that, and I've been trying to get used to swapping through different mounts on the fly, which is really, really effective for dungeons and stuff like that. Also, the Oaken Compound, because lots of people always ask me, this is the style that I use with my Hanzo mod. It's actually not a modded bow. It just looks like a wooden bow, so you can actually use the search function. However, some people are actually running into issues where their game just randomly crashes when you're using the search function, so GG with that. Then also, I just want to say in passing that for anything that you have not collected, whoops, there we go. Anything that's not collected, you can actually just click on this icon right here and it'll show it in the shop. Now, without further ado, why did we conveniently ended up going here is because the Chaos contents have been shuffled to now include this golden bug. However, the patch notes, for some strange reason, does not include that the springing, dark, sporling... Man, that's a mouthful. This thing also comes out of the Chaos Chest, and so does this thing. Which they're all bouncy mounts, so don't worry. It means that their price is going to steadily decrease because nobody likes the bouncy mounts, which is great because it means free mastery. Then there is also 3 new community design dragons have been introduced to Trove. I will kind of summarize here. I don't have any other dragons. However, you can click the card in the top right-hand corner again because I do have a video, if you haven't already seen, that shows all the dragons and talks about them in a bit more detail. But to summarize, there's a Lego dragon that you can get its egg from any adventure boxes. You're going to need 5 of its egg. So don't freak out if you only end up getting 1. However, you can sell them right now and they're actually really expensive. Then there is also the Pinata Dragon, which you get from any Pinata type. Then there is also the Everdark or Everdank Dragon, which you don't actually get from the Everdark or anything like that. You actually get it from Shadow Caches, which you get from Shadow Towers. And that one seems to be extremely rare. However, the Pinata Dragon technically is pay to win, right? Because you need to buy the Pinatas outside of buying Pinatas for in-game currency, but that means that somebody ended up spending money on them at some point, right? And then there is also a huge buff to the Patron, which it doubles drop rate for Shadow Tower keys, Shadow Tower key fragments, I mean, that you go and get from Adventure Worlds. By the way, I want to mention this before I forget. If we go into the dragon section and you scroll down to the new dragons, you can actually click this icon right here to find them in the trade, but it's searching for the dragon itself rather than searching for the egg. And I do want to mention that all of these dragons, #confirmed, are going to remain tradable eggs. That is on purpose. It's not a bug that they're going to end up patching later like they did with some of the other dragons. These dragons are tradable, and they're tradable for keeps. That's the whole point, right? So anyway, back to the patron bonuses. Doubled the amount of karma generation for gem boxes. This includes just gem boxes in general, as well as gem booster boxes, which I don't really know many people that go for the gem booster boxes, but it's still good. The biggest thing, though, that this affects is the gem boxes themselves, and gem booster boxes, I guess, too. But it means that people that don't have Patron, normally you have to open 70 boxes before you automatically trigger the karma bar and end up getting something really good. With Patron, it's 35 because it's half that. So that's fantastic for people that are farming for gem dust and stuff like that, as well as, I guess, people that actually use the gem booster boxes. I myself don't need to, just because I have so many of the boosters, but I know for most of you it's actually very difficult to get, so hopefully that'll help out. But it only helps out Patron users. So just I want to say in passing too, because lots of people don't know, you can buy Patron for in-game currency. However, the price of Patron is going up because of these, as well as the biggest difference to Patron is that rather than getting a flat rate of 200 magic find, you are now going to get 100% of your current magic find. So my magic find before this patch was about 800. Now I'm rocking 1.5k, and that would only end up going up if I ended up getting the magic find from all those new dragons, which GG if I ever get any of them anyways. So seriously, that's just amazing, and because of it, it means that the drop rates of items has actually increased like crazy. I really, really hope that they don't end up doing one step forward, two steps back, and end up nerfing drop rates again. I don't think that they will, everybody. Here's my theory. So, hashtag a little bit of a rant here, folks. A couple weeks ago, if not a month or two ago, actually over the course of a couple months, they've slowly been nerfing drop rates to make it worse and worse and worse, and we all wondered why. Then they talked about these new dragons. Then, suddenly, old ScythePlays and his choo-choo brain ended up thinking, hey, that would make total sense if they end up nerfing the magic find, or nerfing the drop rates, because we're gonna get new magic find from all these dragons. On top of that, there's this Patron. Now that makes more sense to me that they nerfed it in the first place, because it wouldn't really make that much sense for them to nerf it so that they could bring Magic Find back in the form of all these new dragons, but it would make sense for Tryon Worlds, who loves money, to end up nerfing drop rates so that they could kind of force and pigeonhole players into paying for Patron just so that they could have the same experience that we all had a couple months ago before the nerf. Now, I'm not complaining about that, because the fact that Patron can still be bought for in-game currency, and I don't think that's ever gonna end up going away, because technically there's people that have to be buying those Patron just so they can sell it in-game, and that's another reason that I don't think they'll nerf the drop rates. I really hope they don't, fingers crossed, because now drop rates are very much affected by pay to win, technically, right? So the devs win from this, but it also means that even if you're a player that doesn't end up having Patron, you still benefit from this too as well, everybody, because shadow drops are more common. So shadow souls are down in price, meaning that for a new player, it's a lot more accessible for you to end up getting Radiant or Stellar. So it's fantastic. I love it. This is what ended up happening a couple weeks back when the drop rates were this good. Things were starting to decrease in price like crazy, and I think it's fantastic, because it means that endgame players like myself can actually farm and make flux, because I'm actually getting drops, and new players benefit from this very, very well, because the price just plummets like crazy. So I really, really hope that this is all on purpose. Fingers crossed, everybody, that they don't end up nerfing it again, because essentially this is what we already had months ago, but they just kind of shifted it so that you have to have Patron for the same thing to happen, right? So it shouldn't end up getting nerfed. Now, they've actually buffed up a couple of the classes, everybody, because first of all, they smoothed the XP curve before level 10, reducing the total time required to reach level 10. Who cares? Fix level 25 plus, because that's where it really gets bad. Increase power rank gained per class level to 15, up from 10. So you should have seen a slight increase with your power rank. I'll talk about my 16k power rank in another video. Then there is increased stats gained from levels 2 to 20 for for the Knight, Candy Barbarian, Boomeranger, and the Revenant. So that means that those classes should actually be boosted up quite a bit compared to all the other classes, which is great because those ones were lacking. So now they have their power kind of increased quite a bit so that they can keep up with everybody. Unfortunately, not much of a change to the Dracolite, but they did increase its spell damage granted from levels 2 to 7. So a slight buff there. Still good, you know, the Draconis, you can pretty much play as any class that you want, honestly, and this buff makes that even more so. However, there are still certain class gems that you do want to avoid just because they suck. By the way, I do want to mention in passing, because everybody always asks me, the Tomb Razor's class gem ability has been fixed like years ago, where now the class gem ability still casts the Banshee's boon while summoning the Banshee. I just wanted to say that in passing because lots of people don't actually rewatch my video that I kind of ended up adding it in the description that said that, but nobody really reads the description anyway. So anyways, they fixed a bug where, okay, that's a long explanation. So if you're a new player, you end up getting to the starting quest that says complete a dragon challenge. Apparently it was a bug that you had to complete the entire dragon challenge from like tier 1 to tier 3, right? They changed it, so now you just have to participate and complete one tier in the Dragon Challenge, and then that quest goes away. So that's good for new players, because otherwise that one was really confusing them. Fixed a bug preventing language settings from not saving when you restarted your client. Wednesday is no longer fast fishing day. Now instead it actually is 25% for people that don't use Patron, or 50% for people that do have Patron, for more gem boxes to drop from completing a dungeons, and just from killing secret boss enemies and stuff like that. So that's good, because that means this is pretty much gem dust day, and gives us another day to that's actually worth farming, because for fishing day, nobody really fishes. The devs, from what I hear, this is kind of just a rumor going around right now, are going to kind of retweak fishing and maybe plasma fishing. Honestly, I don't think anything is in this game until it's actually in this game. That's kind of the rule of thumb of how you gotta treat this game, though, folks. Seasons are beginning to change. Summer pinatas have arrived in the store. The quick play battle arena PvP, you can now enter it with Mastery 5 instead of Mastery 10. They mentioned this in last week's patch, so I guess they finally added it now instead of last week. They also mentioned this in last week's patch as well. In Adept, Elite, and Master Worlds, you can now get rarely get a piece of equipment that is beyond your level, which doesn't really matter, because honestly you get up to U1 very, very quickly. Fixed a bug where right-clicking items in your inventory wouldn't put them in the trade UI after having successfully traded once. Added a confirmation prompt to /mf and /Metaphorge commands, which is great, because usually the biggest troll that people would do in Trove is type /mf to see your magic find. It actually takes you to the Metaphorge, and if you don't know what that is, everybody, honestly, I don't have any tutorials on what the Metaphorge is or how you actually do it, because it's a very, very confusing system. But ultimately, I mean, maybe it would be fun once you learn how to do it, but either way, that's where players end up going into the game system and creating dungeons that then get accepted into the game, because 99% of the dungeons that are in game, fun fact, are actually created by players. So there you go. Then there's also some slight tweaks that they mentioned towards the Metaphorge in general, a couple / commands and stuff like that, a couple bugs. Added a confirmation prompt. Oh, never mind. Fixed a bug where /flood fill, that was one of the commands in the Metaphorge. Normally it would crash your game. They also changed the display of tomes so that rather than displaying a flat amount of XP, instead it displays percentage. Now, I do want to mention this in passing, everybody, and they kind of mentioned it in the patch as well, that tomes earn experience by completing battle arena maps or by clearing dungeons. Now, you don't get experience if you force the battle arena. You have to end up having enough people in the match that it actually starts, and then once you complete the match, you'll end up gaining experience. And also, tomes are not affected by the Uber World difficulty that you're actually in. You will gain the same amount of experience for completing a dungeon with your tome as you do in Novice and U9, which honestly, I don't really like. I never agreed with that system in the first place, because it means that players like myself are not really rewarded for actually being at the end game and being in U9 and able to grind it. Instead, technically, I can go and grind my tomes in Novice faster than I can in U9. Thankfully, I play this game often enough that I usually grind up all my tomes within a week anyways, but as they add more legendary tomes, unfortunately, it's a very counterproductive system that I hope that they would change eventually. Fixed a bug where the visual effects of damaged blocks would show up even when behind a video effects of different abilities and stuff like that. That was mentioned last week's patch 2. Exposed even more in-game text for localization, whatever that means. And then there's secret patch notes that I wrote down right here, where the bug where people still invite you to clubs, worlds, and stuff like that still shows up as gibberish. The extra life dragons are now actually, like, their eggs are actually in the store. For some strange reason, I don't have it because I already have the pack, but the extra life pack is actually still showing up in the store, which honestly, I really feel torn between and really don't like that because I'm sure that that is probably one of their most successful selling packs, because it's under the pretext that is for charity. Now, the pack itself does say that after the first $20,000 that they earn, everything else they keep for themselves. That's why I don't like it, because they're keeping that pack in the store and people are buying it, I'm sure, because they think it's going towards charity, but Tryon Worlds is actually taking all of the money from that, so I really, really don't like that, you know? I don't like that they're preying on people's naivety. I think it should just remove the fact that it says it goes towards charity. Maybe they did, I don't know, because I don't see the pack, but I really do think that they should remove that because that is, that's bordering on criminal in my opinion, like really. Then there is also the 3 Chaos mounts, yes. The Shop Dragons. Also, there is the Griffin mount. I'm sure most of you may or may not have noticed down in the rare, not rare, in the promotional section, way down here. My goodness gracious, you gotta scroll down a lot. Drumsticks, the mount. You can't buy this thing or anything like that. The way that this is earned right now, because you may or may not have seen a couple people actually rocking it, was for a fan art contest. People that ended up winning the fan art contest, I think it was just the person that was at the top. I don't really know. I don't really pay attention to those things. But they ended up getting the mount for themselves as well as a couple different codes. This mount will eventually be available for all of us to earn somehow in-game. But honestly, it's not in-game right now, so rip. But either way, that's it for this week's patch notes video, everybody. Last week, I asked you all what you thought of the patch, and 7% of you said that it was -1, 16% of you said that it was kind of just -0, just in the middle, and a whopping 76% of you said that it was +1, because I just kind of made it like an easy rating system. And that last week's patch was the new dance pad, as well as the class demo, class trial things, and a lot of you actually said that you really liked the class trials, but the majority of you did say that you didn't like the fact that you didn't have your class ultimate, and it kind of felt like it was a little bit of a waste, especially because you can't really play the classes without their ultimate, which I think is kind of the point, everybody, because, you know, pay to win, right? But either way, click the card in the top right-hand corner of the screen if you want to vote whether or not, you know, is this a good patch, bad patch, just in the middle. Let me know. If you don't feel like voting, you can always leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your opinion on all of this. Also, I would be very curious to know, everybody, does the does the shadow drop increase and the less price for shadow items and stuff like that, does that actually affect you and make your game easier for you, or is Flux just harder for you to earn? Because I would very much be curious to know about that, and just let me know your opinion on it. Thanks so much for watching, though, everybody. I very much appreciate it. Blah, blah, blah. Getting way too ahead of myself. Don't forget to duke in the like button, share, favorite, and subscribe to join Team Pixie Sino, and stay epic, everybody.